What is up, duelists? Arts and Crofts here, once again bringing you your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format action. Today's feature match, we've got Bobby Big Plays versus Vive Cristo. As always, both players rated in the top 200 of the Dueling Book GOAT format ladder. At the time this match was played, let's hop right into it. Looks like Bobby Big Plays will be going first, and they're going to lead out with Delinquent Duo. Pretty solid opening. Get some good intel into what Vive Cristo is playing. And likely going up a card here as well. See what they hit. They snag a Breaker the Magical Warrior. Very nice card to know you don't have to deal with. One of the best cards in the format, of course. And then Vive Cristo discards Solemn Judgment. Definitely a, usual card to see discarded here off of Duo. Because it's not so great very early on in the game when your life points are super duper high. So pretty often going to be your worst card. The worst card in your hand here if you get turn 1 duoed. Definitely makes sense there. And then we're going to follow up with Set Monster into Thunder Dragon. Cool. So Bobby Big Plays here, likely on a little bit of Chaos action. They're going to add a back row. Cool. So classic. So basically, turn was Duo into Thunder Dragon into T-Set Pass. Nice sequencing. Up a card and like a half thanks to the TD. In a good spot. We'll see if Vive Cristo can fight their way back into this one. Going to lead out with Nobleman of Crossout. So this is a pretty good way to answer Bobby's turn 1 play. Hitting a Dekoichi. Cool. Good card to not have your opponent get access to. Vive Cristo looks like they're not running any Dekoichis, or maybe has one in hand. Bobby seems to be playing at least 2 copies. And then we're going to get Reinforcement of the Army here out of Vive Cristo. So likely playing Warrior. That would explain the lack of Dekoichi and the main deck Solemn Judgment as well. So potentially Turbo versus Warrior today. Pretty solid matchup. We're gonna go Rhoda into Donzalug, a very strong turn 1 play. Especially game 1 when your opponent doesn't know exactly what they're playing against. Because if you're playing like Chaos Turbo, oftentimes you're not going to be setting stuff turn 1 with the anticipation that there's going to be something that you need to kill immediately, like a Spirit Reaper or a Donzalug. So this is one of the big advantages Warrior lists have game 1, is that they can go for these plays before the opponent knows that they're on Warrior, and they need to play defensively a little bit differently than they would against a standard deck. So Donzalug could definitely get in for some good value here, recuperating that lost card advantage after that Delinquent Duo. Now, of course, Bobby Big Plays is a little bit insulated from this thanks to the double Thunder Dragon in hand, but there is still a 50-50 chance Donzalug rips out a real card here, so probably worth going for. Going to hit in for 14. Oh, but it looks like Bobby is running main deck Sakuretsu Armor. Interesting. Okay, I wonder what they could be playing. Main deck Saku is not something you see in a lot of decks outside of, like, Warrior or Earth aggro, but Bobby is, of course, on some sort of Chaos strategy with main deck Dekoichis, so I wonder if maybe they're on Chaos Control with the main deck Saku, or maybe like Chaos Warrior, which could main deck Saku. Interesting to see here, but Saku coming in clutch here to deal with this Donzalug and protect their hands, so Bobby consolidating their advantage here, trading off some resources while they're up a card. Pretty good start for them here, and Vive Cristo, yeah, got hit with Duo, of course, early on, so no real follow-up play once their Donzalug gets removed. And pretty big opening here for Bobby to continue to solidify their lead. Gonna go for another T-set pass, just keep up the pressure. You've already forced out 1 knock, so less likely that Vive Cristo has an answer to your second set monster. They've got DD Warrior Lady coming through here. Another classic Warrior card. Gonna go attack in. And it is going to be Night Assailant, so that's just going to trade 1 for 1. If you're Vive Cristo, you probably just... I guess it depends. If you have BLS in hand, you definitely want your Dark to just hit the grave. Cool. And both will hit the grave. Nice. So both players getting Chaos online could be interesting. Vive Cristo obviously had the opportunity to banish both of them, which would have kept both players off of Chaos. So must mean that Vive Cristo probably has Chaos in their hand. Potentially. Could have BLS in the hand here is probably the read. See what Bobby can do with that information. We're going to get Trap Dust Shoot here in the standby phase. We'll see exactly what Bobby is rocking with. We have the 2 known Thunder Dragons. We have a Gravekeeper Spy, so a 3rd potential flip monster coming through here. And Breaker the Magical Warrior, which isn't doing too much at this point in time. If you are Vive Cristo, you probably send back the Spy here, unless you have like another knock in hand. But yeah, Spy's going to come back. That is the most annoying card in the deck for Warrior to deal with, so definitely understandable. And then if you're Bobby, you probably just go normal summon Breaker, start beating in for 19. Doesn't sound too bad. Nothing else to really do. Start clocking the opponent, might as well. So Vive Cristo under some actual life point pressure here, but set up for chaos pretty intentionally last turn. So would be interested to see if they do have a big BLS here for them. We're going to go Mind Control. So main deck Minecon in Warrior, definitely something you can play. Makes me think that Vive Cristo is probably on main deck Gravekeeper Spy as well. Makes Minecon a lot better, of course. So we're going to Minecon the Breaker pop the back row, and then probably play Chaos, if my read is correct. You hit a Call of the Haunted. Oh, wow. Okay, so Bobby is definitely playing something. They're cooking up something here. Main deck Saku, main deck Call of the Haunted in what otherwise would look like pretty standard Chaos Turbo. It's pretty interesting. Okay, and yes, so as expected, Vive Cristo was clearing the way for Chaos there, playing up to with that DD Warrior Lady play, as well as this Minecon to clear out the back row. So really nice stuff here. Going to get a really big threat on the board. And you know Bobby has no answers to this because they just have double T-Drag in hand. So BLS is going to be able to get in a ton of damage, and it'll likely stick around here unless Bobby can top deck and out. Going to drop returns, set a back row pass. Not turning the Breaker to defense is a little bit interesting, but signifying maybe you just have like Ring of Destruction or something. Or we're going to go Raigeki Break in the draw phase to pop the BLS. So that is a pretty nice top deck there out of Bobby to make sure they don't just lose this turn. And now Vive is going to have to kind of rebuild with their big threat being answered. So nice top deck there from Bobby, keeping them in the game. Ooh, but to make up for it, Vive Cristo top deck Pot of Greed. So they're going to be able to refill their hand quite nicely here. A Pot into Graceful is a really good way to follow up your big threat getting answered. And we're going to discard a dead Trap Dust Shoot and a dead Dust Tornado. Let's see what they kept. Just going to be 2 back row. So, you know, Warrior is kind of a monster light deck often. So not guaranteed to hit any monsters in your top 5 cards all the time. But these back row definitely could be useful, especially when you're staring down a beater here. Bobby just going to go straight to battle phase, get in for 16. Mirror Force is going to come through just to remove the threat. Feels bad when you have to Mirror Force a Breaker that has no token on it, because this isn't really a full card's worth of value, but if you got nothing else going on for you, definitely can understand it. And then Bobby's just going to set a monster here and pass. Vive just, once again, a little bit monster dead here. Draw, set, pass. Bobby, do you have a real flip? Let's see. We're going to go flip up Magician of Faith with only Delinquent Duo in the grave. Is a little bit interesting, but maybe they just want to get the duo in hand, use the Faith, and then go tribute someone for Thunder Dragon to start applying pressure. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of this in general, because I don't like tributing for Thunder Dragon against Warrior is not that great of a play, because its stat line is not particularly impressive. So I almost would have preferred just like holding onto this Faith for a while. Yeah, I know Vive Cristo is main decking Minecon, but they've already used one. Unlikely that they're running 2, so I think it's fine. And especially if you pass here and don't flip it or anything, there's no way they're going to go ahead and just Minecon it later on. They're going to read it's like Sangan or something. So, interesting choice to go flip for this Faith here. My assumption is it's going to be Tribute for Thunder Dragon. Yeah, not a huge fan of this play, but it is at least going to apply some pressure. Torrential Tribute's actually just going to come down, and yeah, now Bobby has really nothing going for them at all at this point in time. Torrential come in clutch. All the Thunder Dragons are out of hand. Oh, but we are going to slam down Chaos Sorcerer. Okay, so never mind. Maybe that was actually a decent play because you were able to clear out some of this back row interaction to then slam down a Sork, which is a very relevant stat line against Warrior. 2300 is a lot bigger than 1600, especially in this matchup. And so if this was the plan all along to just bait out some stuff to then slam down Sork, definitely makes sense to me. Ooh, but we're just going to go ahead and ring the Sork. So Vive Cristo not able to draw into any strong monsters here, but did draw into the old limited Trap Trinity here and got to use all 3 of them in a couple turns to wipe out all of Bobby's plays. And now, yeah, Bobby is nominally up a card at this point in time, but Warrior is a deck that is built to win these top deck wars. Sooner or later, they will find a monster, and that monster is almost guaranteed to be bigger than whatever Bobby has, unless they find like BLS or another Sork. So honestly, probably slight advantage at this point in time to Vive Cristo, just because their deck is kind of built for these scenarios more frequently. Yeah, we're going to get top deck Blade Knight. That is exactly the card I had in mind when I was talking before. One of the best cards in these very simplified scenarios. It is only monster on the field, no cards in hand, so it is at full power. And this is just GG Ring getting Bobby down into lethal to a Blade Knight range, and then the top deck Blade Knight to come through to take down game 1. And that was a pretty nice, I mean, some pretty crazy top decks from both players this game. The Raigeki break from Bobby to answer the BLS immediately, and then Vive Cristo had the pot into Graceful, into a bunch of good traps. Bobby found Sork, which is a really good card in that scenario, but then that got answered by the Ring, and then top deck, as we saw here, Blade Knight coming through to steal the game away for Vive Cristo. So game 1, 2 Warrior, a deck that really likes to win game 1. Bobby seems to be on a little bit of an interesting Chaos Turbo list with main deck Saku, main deck Call of the Haunted, so interested to see exactly what this list might be doing. We'll be able to go first here in game 2, but interested to see exactly what they might be cooking, and if that will influence how Vive Cristo decides to side deck as well. See what the play is. Thunder Dragon in the opening hand is always good for Chaos decks to have. We're going to go T-Drag into Graceful, a classic 1-2 combo, going up a full card very, very early on, and thinning the deck a good amount. Yep, both of those Thunder Dragons hit in the grave. Then we're going to go Graceful into Pot as well, so Bobby's saying you're not the only person who can chain Trinity together here. And you are already up full 2 cards. We're going to go T-Set Pass with a nice full grip of cards in your hand. And Vive, once again, very much on the back foot here. They were able to fight back last game with some very, very strong monsters. In the hole here again early on, though. We'll see if they can pull another rabbit out of their hat. See what the play is. We're going to go, once again, starting eerily similar to last game, starting off with a knock on the set. Hitting a Sangan this time. But that is a very annoying monster to deal with, so probably pretty happy that that is out of the rotation. Reinforcement of the Army here coming out. The exact same 2 opening cards from last game. We're going to go Rhoda, show me the Donzalug for fun. Yeah, just do it again. Why not? Run it back. It worked last time. Will Don get hit by Sakuretsu armor? It's going to be a Ring of Destruction. Okay, so once again, eerily similar opening turns from both players. And once again, it will result in the Donzalug not connecting in, but it does force out the Ring of Destruction out of Bobby. Obviously, a pretty good time to use it if you're Bobby to protect your hand once more. Especially because you don't have the Thunder Dragons here to insulate you anymore. Because you've already cashed those in. But consolidating your lead a little bit, good to simplify stuff down when you're up a bunch of cards. So, nice opening turn here for Bobby. Vive Cristo is going to go set 3 pass. Could see a little bit of Trap Dust Shoot action. Maybe a little bit of Solemn Judgment action. We know they're on that card. Let's see what Bobby can do here. Up a couple of cards. Trap Dust Shoot is going to come through, though. And we'll see what's in Bobby's hand. This is pretty good stuff. We've got Chaos Sorcerer. That's just a dark away from being live with a bunch of darks in hand. And a Raigeki break to dump something in. Tsukiyomi is just a very good card against Warrior. Same with Breaker often. Knight Assailant and Dekoichi are 2 cards that most decks would side out against, or at least shave some copies of against Warrior. But, of course, Bobby seems to be playing an unconventional sort of list here, so not exactly sure what makes the cut. We do see a Metamorphosis here, so maybe this is just Chaos Control with main deck Saku in it, which is definitely playable. If you're Vive Cristo, not exactly sure what you would steal at this point in time. It's going to depend on if you have an answer to Breaker or if you have an answer to a Tsukiyomi. Knight Assailant and Dekoichi you probably don't care too much about. So I would assume either the Breaker or the Suk will get sent back here is my guess. Yeah, and Breaker is going to get sent back. That definitely makes sense to me. Go ahead and hide that hand there. And we'll see how Bobby chooses to go for this turn. Just going to go T-Set Pass. So obviously it could be Dekoichi, could be Knight Assailant, could be a bluff Tsukiyomi, although that's pretty unlikely. Especially because you've already seen Knock and a Rhoda used, meaning that they can't go Rhoda for Exiled as frequently here. Definitely wouldn't be surprised to see Bobby just go for a real set here, namely Dekoichi. See if it can resolve them. Vive Cristo knows a lot of stuff to play through. Minecon is going to come through, and you catch the Dekoichi. Yeah, so Bobby playing, saying, you know what, a couple of your answers to set monsters are gone, so I'm going to go and try and poke in with my Dekoichi, but Vive Cristo had the Minecon here to at least steal away the flip effect. It's not going to remove the body from the board, but the stat line isn't very impressive against Warrior, so that's totally fine. And Vive Cristo is going to draw a little bit further into the deck as well. When they find top deck Delinquent Duo, which is really nice, especially because you know your opponent has Knight Assailant in hand. without any flips engraved. So if you can get that out of their hand before they can like trigger it with their own Raigeki break or something, that would be really big. It could also turn on Chaos, so Vive Cristo does have to be worried that maybe that Chaos Sorcerer is going to come down. But Duo is too good of a card not to play in this scenario, of course. See what they hit. A lot of good options. You're happy if you hit the Night Assailant. You're happy if you hit the Sork, I think. You hit the Sork, so that is pretty solid. It does turn Chaos on, but the Chaos in their hand is gone. So you're not going to really care too much about that. And then Bobby is going to go ahead and discard that Dead Metamorphosis. But really nice hit there for Vive Cristo, ripping out a major threat. See if they have any monster of their own to play. You're just going to set a back row, but still overall a decent turn. Prevented the Dekoichi flip effect from coming through for Bobby and resolving a duo. So, not too bad. Once again, kind of crawling back into this game after a pretty strong opening from Bobby. But Bobby definitely still in the lead here. They have this Dekoichi body around to pressure Vive's life points and some other strong monsters available to them, like that Night Assailant and Tsukiyomi. Also, importantly, Tsukiyomi loop is definitely live here. So Vive kind of needs some spot removal here or like a Torrential Tribute. Otherwise, Bobby will very quickly run away with this game with the Suk plus Dekoichi combo. We're just going to go for that straight ahead here. So Vive, do you have Ring or anything? Yeah, Ring is going to have to come down here, deal with the Dekoichi. Going to burn both players. And Tsukiyomi will stick around to be able to beat in. Ooh, but Mirror Force is going to come down. Yeah, looks a little bit weird to Mirror Force to just save yourself 1,100 life points. But Tsukiyomi is one of the most effective cards against the Warrior strategy because so much of their monsters just die to it. So I definitely understand just going for the Mirror Force here, getting rid of this very, very powerful option. And yeah, Viva is not down to quite a small number of cards, but I definitely think they've been playing this game as well as they could have for the most part here. Bobby's just going to pass. Vive here hasn't really stuck a threat all game since that Don Salute got ringed. And they're not going to find one here. Warriors, Monster Linus rearing its ugly head once again. We're getting End Phase Raigeki Break. So now that the Dekoichi is engraved, that does turn on Raigeki Break, discard Night Assailant, which is a pretty big play here for Bobby, giving them like a nice card to use their normal summon on next turn. So the Night Assailant's probably just going to pop that new back row. It is a Solemn Judgment, good thing to hit. Now, I would not be surprised for this middle card to also be a Solemn, potentially, because it looks like the 3 sets were Dust Shoot, or no, actually, I don't remember when this card was set, so ignore me. Because I do remember Vive, their turn when they did set 3 back row. One was Trap Dust Shoot, and I guess one was Ring, and the last one had to have been Mirror Force. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, Raigeki Break going to come through. Dekoichi will get bounced back to the hand, which will give Bobby a pretty nice normal summon for this turn, especially with Vive just having the single card left. And it's just going to be probably set Dekoichi, set a back row pass, set up for another draw card, beat in little play there. And Vive's, going to need to find another out here. Top deck Graceful Charity, potentially bailing them out here once more. It's really nice. See what they find. We're going to go ahead and discard a Dust Tornado and a Mystical Space Typhoon. So back row removal hit in the grave. Likely means that they kept a monster here. No, they're just going to pass. I wonder if they drew into BLS and they just didn't want to have it hit the grave, but they did get rid of 2 potentially live cards, and this Dekoichi might just come down here and start threatening their life points once again. So Bobby in a really good position here, resolving the Dekoichi. 1,400 body is going to be a nice clock here on Vive, dropping them down to 28. So this is a 2-turn clock from this point on. Add another back row. Things are looking really good for Bobby at this point in time. Vive, you might have BLS in hand, but it's not live just yet, and it might be a little bit tricky to stabilize from this position. Okay, top deck Kaiku is pretty nice, though. That's going to come down. A lot of back row to work your way through, though, especially against a deck that main deck Sakuretsu armor, let alone what sort of battle traps or things they might have in post side. Kaiku, of course, a very good card, though. We're going to try and beat over this Dekoichi, but Mirror Force is going to come through. Yeah, kind of as expected. One of these back rows definitely going to be something that can deal with an defensive threat here. Ooh, but yeah, okay, so maybe I was cooking before. I might not have tracked all the back row, but I had a hunch that back row was a Solemn Judgment. And I think Vive Cristo, you're at the point where you kind of have to be all in on this Kaiku. If it gets removed, you really have nothing else going for you. So Solemning the Mirror Force to keep your board supremacy online definitely makes a lot of sense to me. Your opponent is also on Chaos, so keeping the Kaiku Floodgate around would be quite nice. So yeah, I definitely like the Solemn here. You drop down to 14, but you gotta keep around some semblance of offense before you just lose. And 1400 damage off the Solemn is exactly what a Dekoichi hit is anyway. So definitely would prefer to keep your Kaiku on the board if you're going to be taking 1400 anyway. So Kaiku is going to beat over the Dekoichi. You probably just start working on taking them off of lights, is my guess, maybe. Or yeah, probably you go darks because 2 hits from the Kaiku gets rid of all their darks once again, and you can get flips out of the grave for future Night Assailants. It's probably the play there. Yeah, so that makes sense to me. You probably get rid of. Actually, I guess it doesn't matter because neither Sook nor Sork can be special summoned from the grave at this point in time because the sorcerer was never actually summoned. But yeah, Vive Cristo, all in on this Kaiku beatdown plan. That is definitely the best course of action available to them. It is, of course, pretty fragile, but I understand going for it, especially this late into the game. Just going to pass there, like I said, probably holding BLS in hand. Could also maybe be like Snatch Seal that they wanted to hold for like a bigger threat than the Dekoichi, potentially. But you might not have the luxury of going for that, and I feel like you probably go for a bluff set here if you did actually hold a back row. So my read would be BLS in hand here. Bobby is going to draw for turn. Kaiku staring them down, but plenty of cards to potentially deal with it. Just going to draw a pass. Interesting. So the Kaiku will stick around. So Vive's plan is working for now. Draw for turn. We're going to slam down King Tiger Wanghu. That's a nice play. And not something that you would always expect to be sided in against Chaos Turbo. However, Bobby did note, or Vive probably took note of some of the weirder cards in Bobby's deck, like the Saku and the Call, which makes you think that maybe they're playing a little bit more of a Chaos Control sort of list. So maybe there's a chance that like Scapegoat is a card. Either way, though, King Tiger is going to double up this clock right now. There's no Mirror Force to worry about, so this is a little bit safer. See if it gets past Torrential, but it looks like it will. And this is going to be a lot of damage coming through. 3,500 points. Kaiku can now take Bobby completely off of Darks at this point in time. And King Tiger, yeah, 2 very powerful Floodgate effects here as well to keep Bobby on the back foot. And what could they possibly have in hand that they just can't do anything with? You got 4 cards, none of them are Thunder Dragons. Looking a little bit rough. And now Vive, suddenly out of nowhere, went top deck Kaiku into top deck King Tiger. And now you're passing with Lethal on board. Wow. It's how quickly these matches can turn around, right? Especially when you're playing Warrior. Bobby's going to drop return, set something in the way. Okay, is this going to be enough to block off this? Ninja Grandmaster. Yeah, you've already, there's no Mirror Force. You basically already tested for Torrential last turn, so you might as well go as wide as possible. Notably, this is also a light for the suspected BLS in hand, so if that ever hits the grave, it could be a little bit scary. And one of Bobby's best stabilizing cards at this point of time is Gravekeeper Spy, and Ninja Grandmaster makes quick work of that. So would not be surprised to see Ninja Grandmaster get a lot of value at this point in time. In fact, if you even go like attack King, if it is Spy, you can go attacking with King Tiger. King Tiger flip it face up. The second one will get killed by the Tiger effect, and then Grandmaster can beat over the defense position Spy that remains, and Kaiku represents lethal. So that actually might be one of the best cards here to guarantee lethal in pretty much almost all scenarios. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, if you don't have a real back row here, what card saves you at this point in time? Nothing. Night Assailant isn't enough because of the extra monster. I think this is just game. Right? King Tiger attack the set. It is Spy. Yeah, Spy will summon out another one, and it'll die. And then Grandmaster kills that one, and Kaiku gets in for 18. Ooh, but we do have the scapegoat. Oh, okay, yeah. The scapegoat's going to come through and just die to the King Tiger. Another scapegoat in hand. A dead duo, and a heavy storm. Yeah, so Bobby definitely was at least on the chaos control stuff here. Post side, but it was not enough. Yeah, Vive Cristo making the really nice call, saying, you know what, it looked like you were on turbo, but I had suspicions that the scapegoat stuff was coming through. So King Tiger actually doing a humongous job here to keep Bobby out of the game. And 3 very powerful monsters with very powerful effects. all combining over the course of multiple turns here to take down this game for Vive Cristo and the match overall. That is 2-0. Warrior takes it down over Chaos Control. Just overwhelming aggression in both games. Bobby could not deal with it. And that is all she wrote, folks. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly did. I will catch you all next time.